Hello and welcome back to Generic Sports Podcast. I'm your host, the Goose, Josh.
And I'm John.
And we are in week 16 of 18. It pains me to say that.
Sadness. Getting hyped for playoffs, but not hyped that the season's ending.
I was hyped for playoffs, so we'll get into that later. I don't even know where to begin. Do we want to begin at the beginning of the week, the end of the week, the middle of the week?
There's been so much football from Thursday to Monday,
right. And it was a good week of football,
right?
For the most part. I'm just not gonna relive that. I'm trying to think. Do we want to start with the good, the bad, or the ugly? And I think we should start with the ugly. And everybody's going to want to say it's Brock Purdy and his 4 interceptions, but it isn't. The ugly was the Raiders beating the Chiefs by 6 points. And you may ask, why, Goose? Why is this the ugly? It's the ugly because Aiden O'Connell went 3 quarters without a completed pass. He was 9 for 11 in the first quarter and then missed
10 passes.
Yeah, was it 10? I thought it was like more. I thought it was, I forgot what his he still only had. He was like, I thought 9. Was he 9 for 21 or
9 for 21?
Wow. Okay, I thought it was 9 for 25. But either way, it's still bad. And not only was it that bad, you're asking, wait, they won? And that's the thing. They won. There was no touchdown on offense. There were 2 field goals. Or did they miss an extra point? I forget.
Field goals. There were no missed extra points.
Okay, so yeah, you might be asking, wait, they won by 6, but yeah, there were no rushing touchdowns, there were no passing touchdowns. There was a fumble and scoop and score type thing in the I think it was in the second.
Yep.
Yeah, it was in the second. It was I believe it was a scoop and score. It was at like the 5 or something like that. Ran it in for the Raiders defense, got a touchdown. Kickoff, first play, Patrick Mahomes throws the ball, trying to do everything, and pick 6. That was it. 2 touchdowns. They got a field goal. The Chiefs missed 2 field goals because, they must have cursed somebody, or it's like somebody must have cursed them or something. Because Butker very rarely misses, and to have missed 2 in Kansas City and then lose by 6, that was something. So, Zamir White, right?
Zamir White.
He had a great day. They don't. I'm looking like they don't have to re-sign Josh Jacobs.
No, I don't think I would with how well Zamir White's doing.
Right, and that's a whole nother conversation about like devaluing the running back position. But there's that, and that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, I'm watching this game. First of all, the Raiders look so good on defense, and Antonio Pierce has this team playing for him. Do not make the same mistake, Mark Davis. If you want to come visit and like just listen to like an average football fan for ideas, we're here in town. If you're hearing this, somebody sends this to you. I'm happy to happy to talk. I also got to I know some charities that would love to work with the Raiders too. It would be a win-win for everybody. But this conversation doesn't even need to happen. You should just make it off. It should just be Antonio Pierce. Do not make the same mistake with Rich Bisaccia, and do not let Antonio Pierce not. I feel like he has won this job. The players are playing for him.
You won the Chiefs, and at Arrowhead is basically the biggest thing. But if he wins the next 2 games, definitely they make the playoffs magically, insanely, definitely magically win the division. I think they might be able to if the Chiefs lose out, but
Mark Davis, if you magically hear this, just hire the guy. If not, we could have. I'd be happy to have a conversation in general. But this feels like a no-brainer. He played in the league.
He has the same type of energy as Dan Campbell, who also played in the league. He has that same type of players coach mentality.
Yeah, and sometimes you need that. I think that's also what helps D'Amico Ryans too. So that's the Raiders. Genuinely, we don't talk about them. And honestly, Antonio Pierce getting the job and stuff, they've won more games than I thought, because I had them going I think 3 wins, maybe 4.
Well, we were factoring in Josh McDaniels as the coach, not
Yeah.
Antonio Pierce. The projections would have been a lot different if they had him from the beginning, and if we thought it was about, if we knew a coach of his caliber was going to take over.
Right. So that brings us down to the Chiefs. So where to begin? Well, I guess let's start at Patrick Mahomes. He cannot do everything. This is honestly Tom Brady, as if I don't think Tom Brady could even work with this crew. Because of the offensive line and stuff. But Peyton, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, they would all be in the same boat of kind of.
I don't know about Peyton.
Yeah.
Do you remember some of Peyton's receivers on the Colts?
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right. I mean, we'll see. I don't think Peyton gets enough credit. He really doesn't. And especially I remember some players after they left, say, the Broncos or left
the Colts.
Peyton, the Colts, that their careers were never the same. So maybe you might be right. Because we love Peyton Manning here. Honestly, greatest quarterback of all time. Because you want to know why? He made it to the Super Bowl with 4 different coaches. He won without not always having a defense. Some of these guys have won because they have a team put together around them.
Yeah, that was the problem, and why he I think made the Super Bowl quicker with the Broncos than he did with the Colts, was that they didn't want to get Peyton stuff. Peyton had to make everyone else better. They barely got Peyton stuff in the Colts.
Yeah, and their defense, as good as Dwight Freeney and Richard Mathis were, I think that was it. I can't really speak of anybody else I can think of on that in those Colts defenses.
I remember Bob Sanders was great, but he had injury issues, so he was never on the field enough to utilize that.
But then they build then they were getting defensive players, and they worked on the defense, and then they won a Super Bowl. So it's
I think they're building the Colts are trying to build teams better now than they ever did for Peyton. And
yes.
I mean even backup quarterback, I remember they had Curtis Painter and stuff. It's you didn't get decent guys to be to help Peyton. Peyton had to elevate everyone because that's just how Peyton had to win.
With the exception of Reggie Wayne and
Marvin Harrison Marvin Harrison was good, and and they had good running backs.
I think Dallas Clark was good too. But I do think I think that was one of those ones where maybe Dallas Clark could have been average, and that but Peyton and Reggie Wayne, Peyton helped, Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison, they were great. That being said, God, we got off topic. The other PM, Patrick Mahomes, dude, I was looking at him, I'm he looks so dejected, deflated. He looked so out of it because he's running, he's getting, I'm not gonna say he's old, but when you think about it, he's been in the league 6 years, 7 years, or 7 seasons. I forget, but he's been in there a while, and I know Russell Wilson's another topic that we will cover later, but he can't do it all with his legs. He's really trying to do it all, and it's just gonna wear him down, and he's not gonna have as long of a career as I think everybody thinks he will if he keeps going like this. He just looked, besides frustrated, he really did look tired. And then we so I don't know, he could be a reverse Peyton Manning. Maybe he won the Super Bowls early, and now what if he doesn't win another one ever again?
That remains to be seen.
Right?
They need to get the O-line better for him. If he's taking too many hits, that does not help the health of your quarterback.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is there's so much wrong that it's they don't feel like the Chiefs were worried about them this year. You know what I mean? At least so far this year.
They were worrisome in the beginning, but they've just, I don't know, since they've played you and stuff and lost, they haven't played great. I don't know when the slide has happened, but Patrick had to throw 44 times and
still couldn't score more than one touchdown in that entire second half. And
And it does not help if Patrick Mahomes is your leading rusher. I know Pacheco got injured, but still.
Right. Well, Edwards-Helaire got injured too. But Travis Kelce, I think, had one completion, like caught one ball in that entire second half. Like Travis Kelce is wearing down, slipping. He's at the end of it, like you can see, like from last few years, like now he's in the, I guess, the twilight years of his career.
He had a lot of good games earlier this season. He's just, I don't know, the decline hit him just like the decline hit the Chiefs.
Right. And like I really don't want to put it on Taylor Swift, because like if they both know they have a career outside of, they both have careers outside of their relationship. She's coming to support him. Like it could be any celebrity, and
he had two like monster games this season against you and the Chargers in October, but he hasn't had anything quite like that since. Like when they first played the Raider, like he's been so up and down this season, like, and more down, because like Miami, he was held to 14 yards. In New England, he only had 28 yards. This game, he had 44 yards.
Yeah, so
I mean, but he had over 100 yards in 2 games.
But I mean, sometimes age does catch up to you.
Right, this is like 10th year in the league, I think, or something.
But yeah, the big thing is, I feel like another thing is, like, are they really missing Eric Bieniemy?
I mean, we've been talking about that every loss.
I feel like they are. There's something missing. And I remember hearing like the Commanders players were like, oh, he gets so angry, like there's some nastiness or something about him, like like they didn't agree, like, the way he coached or something, like there was some nastiness. That I remember hearing a report about it. I'm just like, is that what they needed? Is that what they're missing? Like did they not have like that tempered voice, like that angry, like upsetting kind of voice in that locker room? So I mean, I guess we'll see, because it's like, are the Chiefs bad? No, but are we feeling like did they feel like, I mean, Andy Reid won with Alex Smith. He'd been there during the when the Broncos had Peyton Manning. There were a lot of times where it's like, is the coaching staff the right staff right now? And I mean, not Andy Reid, but I mean, like, is it Matt Nagy?
Look at how Matt Nagy did in Chicago. I think Matt Nagy might be a problem. I would not be surprised if they change offense coordinators.
I wouldn't either. It doesn't mean that he can't be on the team, but maybe he's just better as a quarterback coach.
Right? I don't think this offense legitimately is not doing as well. The Arrowhead Invitational is gone. They do not have a shot at the number 1 seed. So they are definitely not playing as well as they were. And they're not, I mean, they won the Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill, but like they lost Juju from last year, and seems like they've lost more than just the player with their Juju.
Yeah, there are big questions with the Chiefs, and I don't know how much it's being talked about, but it's like all I know is that this would be a lot bigger if this was happening to like the Patriots during the 20, like when you were like they're in your division, and it's like, they're winning the Super Bowl. They're always in the Super Bowl every other year. It's like, right. I don't remember feeling like this, not concerned about the Chiefs. Like, I mean, maybe I know other teams aren't feeling this way, but as a fan, and a fan perspective is different than a player perspective. As a fan, I'm just like, it's like Baltimore definitely could take care of them.
Well, if
the Browns probably could, like,
I mean, if the playoffs started today, they are like, it has them against the Bills. I don't see them getting past the Bills.
No. So that pretty much, I think, covers everything we need to with the Chiefs. I think that was one of the big ones.
That pretty much covers it. I don't think there's much else to say.
Alrighty, so now that we got the Chiefs out of the way, because that was really important, I think we'll just start at the beginning of the week, which was Thursday Night Football. The Rams and the Saints. My gosh, the Rams. They're looking pretty scary right now. Could we get that rematch of the opening game last year with the Rams and the Bills for the Super Bowl? Because right now, I know everybody wants to say the Bills are looking really hot. It's the Rams that are looking scary hot right now. And they still have a lot of pieces left over from the Super Bowl run. They know how to handle their shit, and they got a good head coach. So And I think they got a better team this, at least on offense.
Well, with Kieran Williams exploding as a running back and Puka Nakua adding another offensive receiving threat to them, they've become a better offense. And especially with Matthew Stafford not being injured, definitely helps.
And Tutu Atwell's coming up too. Like he's playing solid, like third wide receiver, and Higbee's always been good. And then
but since Tutu's been hurt, like the solid third receiver right now is Demarcus Robinson.
Right, I was actually gonna say, I was like, Tutu has played well, but yeah, I was actually gonna say like that's exactly where I was leading to.
And Demarcus actually looks like he might actually have been a good receiver and not a product of Patrick Mahomes, since he was with the Chiefs, and I think they're missing him too.
Right now, yeah, they are. But yeah, they got some pieces there. So the Rams they're looking good. Not trusting the Saints anymore. I don't know who's getting in. Right now, I think if I had to take a bet on who's getting in the wild card, it's probably the Rams and the Seahawks.
I don't know. It will depend on the Seahawks, because I know they play at home one more time, I think, this season. But
yeah, they play the Steelers at home, and then they play the Cardinals.
Yeah, so we'll see, because the Seahawks, it's like, I know at home they're tough, but I know they're just one of those, like, just like the Saints and most of the NFC South, they are the inconsistently consistent teams. So it depends on where they end up, like on the branch of consistent or inconsistent.
Yeah. The last thing I guess I want to say about like the Rams would be that I think, just looking at the numbers and stuff, I'm almost certain that if they win, and I'm not sure on the tiebreaker procedures and stuff, but if them and the Seahawks win, I think they're both in with 9-7, because I would think Green Bay is the only other one, or the winner of Green Bay and Minnesota might be able to catch them, if depending on the tiebreakers. But I do feel like right now don't get me wrong, the Seahawks don't have an easy game. I mean, the Rams have to play the Giants, but if Tyrod Taylor plays good, like that could be a good game. It won't be an easy game, but I know the Seahawks don't have an easy game. I know there's not really an easy game.
Okay, so
I know no game is easy, but
so I looked up the clinching scenarios.
Okay.
The Rams get in with a Seattle loss, with the Rams win and a Seattle loss, or the Rams win and a Minnesota Green Bay tie.
Okay.
Seattle gets in with a win and a Minnesota Green Bay tie.
That makes sense. So
they don't. So they do not clinch exactly if they win.
Okay, but I do feel like they are the most. I do feel like if they win, they are the most likely ones to get in. I'm not holding my breath on Minnesota because of their quarterback situation, because I know it's very much like the Browns, but I'm definitely feeling the Rams. I don't want to put. I wouldn't want to bet on the Seahawks, but if I had to take because I do think that I think the Packers have a shot at making the 7th seed. So we'll see. I do worry about that Joe Barry defense, but we'll get more into it a little bit later. All right. So next game. I thought we were gonna get a better game, but the Steelers and the Bengals, man. Everybody was saying like Rudolph, glided his team that night. So
yeah, Rudolph led them to victory.
Right, 34-11. Definitely hurts Cincinnati's chances at God, I sounded southern. Cincinnati. Cincinnati's chances at the playoffs. They still got a chance because they are playing the Chiefs, and their defense knows how to play the Chiefs. They got a shot. Hopefully Jamar Chase will play. I haven't heard one way or another yet. But,
right, I do not know the injury news.
But no, Steelers look great. Mason Rudolph definitely deserves a shot at playing. Is going to be the starter. He deserves it right now. Like the 34 points. points. He almost like they haven't had a 300-yard passer in like 2 years or something, and he could have done it if they wanted him to, but they didn't want to risk anything, and they look good. So good on them. I definitely want. I'm gonna check out Steelers Seahawks because that actually sounds like a great afternoon game because it's in Seattle. So
I mean,
right.
Yeah, it's in Seattle, which I feel is like the edge on this for the Seahawks.
It does. It's just they got that the 12s. They got that the home field. Like that's the only deciding factor in this game is like if they were playing in Pittsburgh, I'd probably say that there.
We've talked too much about the Seahawks already, and we haven't gotten to their game yet.
I know, right? God, if George Pickens can just play again like he did, like we'll see. But they definitely have a good the Seahawks. They got a defense. So
divisional rivalries, like especially AFC North divisional rivalries, they always play them harder than anyone else, and so I don't know what to expect out of the Steelers.
Right? Anything else? I know some games we're not going to really cover a lot on.
I think just if Jamar Chase is back and like they might just play. I think the Bengals will play the Chiefs harder, and the Steelers will give us we'll see what happens with the Steelers and Seahawks.
Yeah. Bills Chargers. After the weeks that they both had, I was not expecting a 2-point victory for the Bills.
No.
I do not know what the Bills won, so that helps them get closer to the playoffs. Everybody says they don't really want to see the Bills in the playoffs because they can be scary. Well, yeah, they can be scary good and scary bad because I don't feel like a 2-point victory over the Chargers after what they did to
after what happened to what the Raiders did.
And the Bills did to the Cowboys. I mean this should not have been as close of a game.
It just shows you how bad Brandon Staley was.
That's true.
I think Giff Smith in one game showed how much better the Chargers could have been, and if he was the head coach this entire year, they would probably have higher than 5 wins.
Probably. I mean, I do think Justin Herbert playing that game, or at least Keenan Allen, would have made up those 2 points.
Mm-hmm. Easton Stick is not looking bad.
No, he isn't. He really isn't. So I give credit to the Chargers for sticking in it, for playing tough. Bills, I don't know what happened to their run game. Because I played James Cook. And,
You were. I mean, how could you not play James Cook after the game he had?
Right. And I mean, for our audience, if you've been following us, I did win our fantasy football game, so I am going to the championship. I beat John in the semifinals, but James Cook was a lot of like, oh well, he had such a great game that I really expected him to at least go off for more than I think he had 5 points. Like that almost cost me my fantasy game.
We will talk about what cost what fantasy games later and move on with the actual score, the actual game.
Well, no, it's important. I'm getting to the points. Like, if he's got 5 points, it means like he's got 50 yards, give or take. And they rely on their running game a lot in that.
Well, they played more of like Leonard Fournette got in a few more carries that time in the last few games. So
I know I shouldn't say this, but I'm just like we're preparing for the game, watching the game, but they got the cutest dog on the TV from Cleveland. So adorable.
Good boy, or whatever. Good doggy.
So yeah, we found out it was Ben, the golden retriever. It was Kirk Herbstreit's golden retriever, and I remember seeing him before when Good Morning Football had Kirk on, and just so adorable. So
yeah, it's cute puppy.
Right, I'm just glad he got to hang out at the dog pound because so adorable. Sorry about that. Totally, I guess unprofessional or something, but I don't know. Cute animals do triumph over football, I guess. But yes,
that just reminds me of like, what was it, the pigeon that landed on the field or something in one of the games years ago, and other animals that have interrupted
that I hope somebody has that on the YouTube, like a video. I'd love to go watch that. If they
random animals that have interrupted NFL games,
or even like
random animals
baseball, college football. I'm sure there's I know there were some bats at a basketball game earlier this year. So But I swear there was like a skunk or something. I forget if there was there was a beaver. There was something that ran across the field sometime. I'm blanking, but either way, we definitely sidetracked ourselves there. So back to the Bills. That I don't know what a bill is, but it's the buffalo is definitely the logo of the Bills. So we'll continue with the animal there. So
yep, the Buffalo Bills that the mascot is named after their city.
Yep. I mean, if they ever left, they'd have to call themselves the Buffaloes to.
Right.
The only reason is because they're called the Buffalo Bills because of Buffalo Bills. So the only reason it works. So they're the Buffaloes, but they're not going to be the Buffaloes. So, anyways, James Cook. I expect him to have more rushing, more to do in this offense, like catching, running.
He had no pass. They did not throw it to him. So
right, and that's like he didn't really get going. I felt I don't feel like he rushed enough in that game. So he needed more rushes.
That's why it was a close game. But well, first of all, there's nothing wrong with calling the team the Buffalo Buffaloes. I am perfectly fine with it. Anyways, but I have weird tastes, but it's fine.
Right. What were you gonna say?
And anyways, I've heard like some people say online that the Bills play down to their opponents, and that basically the Bills play at the same level of their opponent. Which
the Chiefs have done that too, and they both so
like they both show like it's like the Bills just show like music. The Bills just show that they can match up to like they can play as hard as the Cowboys, but play to the same level as the Chargers.
Yeah, but sometimes they dominate teams. Like if that's why people think they're scary, is because they can do what the Chiefs have done in years. Yeah, I totally get that and respect that. It's going to be interesting to see because I think that they're in the playoffs if they win one more. Even like if they win this week.
Based on the glitching scenarios, they need to. They are not in. They need to win, and other teams have to lose.
Okay, so they are likely to make it, but we'll see. We'll see because they do play the Patriots, and
they've already lost to the Patriots once this year, so they
play in Buffalo, I think.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll see. That being said, one thing that I feel like Buffalo actually has been getting better at is like I'm not always hearing Stephon Diggs' name. I know that there was a time where it felt like he needed to force the ball to him all the time, but Gabe Davis has been trending a little bit more. Like there are times where like he's just blank on that. And then who's that other guy?
Khalil Shakir.
Shakir, yeah, that's who I didn't know his first name, but I was thinking it was Shakir. He feels like that third guy. I don't know if he's in the slot or not, or
yeah, I think he is the slot guy. I'm not sure,
but he really made a difference in some of these games. I think he made a difference in this last game too. But if him and Kincaid and these pieces are just finally coming together, there's a chance. So we'll see what happens with them. Chargers, just good job hanging with them. Broncos play them this week. We'll see what happens. That's a whole nother story we'll get into later. What was the coach's name again?
Giff Smith for the Chargers. Giff.
Okay.
Like how you're supposed to pronounce the
Giff. Yeah.
The file format.
I wasn't sure if it was Gib or Giff. That was it.
Giff. Yeah.
But Giff Smith, like he's been around for a while. Like he knows, like he showed some leadership. I think so. I think we'll want to see how the Chargers do, especially this weekend. But we'll talk about that a little later.
Right.
All right.
But the Chargers definitely played like I really wanted them to win, but like if they had Keenan Allen, I think they might have.
All right. We could really talk about all of these games because they were all that close and interesting, and Jets and Commanders, it was definitely the bottom of the barrel type. They're both getting top 10 draft picks. Jacoby Brissett is going to start this week because he should have started this game. I think that they could have won. Commanders lost 28-30. But it was but the Commanders were making a comeback. I think Jacoby Brissett had some struggles because of the coaching situation, like Tua did, and I don't think that he gets enough credit. Like he lost some credibility, and that's the same thing like Tua, because of Brian Flores' head coaching decisions and how that offense played back.
Well, they didn't have an offense. They went from like an offensive coordinator that was like really only good for well, Jacoby Brissett was I was just gonna say like that was Ryan Fitzpatrick's year with him, but so that doesn't count for like Jacoby Brissett. But Jacoby Brissett was with the year with Tua when they had co-offensive coordinators, and Brian Flores did not know how to pick an offensive coordinator, and that really showed the struggles of the Dolphins offense.
Right. Well, I know he also had struggles with Browns too, but I think he's just one of those ones that I want to say he reminds me of Jameis Winston in the sense that and there are other quarterbacks just like them. I could even say Josh Allen, good coaching. Like their coaching really matters to set up the game plan to get that focus to
just give them someone that believes in them and give them weapons and like the coach is good and the coach is good, I think almost anyone can probably succeed if they have the right ability and they're willing to put in the work. It's like the resurgence of Geno Smith.
Like you need a good coach, and I think that's Eric Bieniemy with Jacoby Brissett, and they look with how shaken up, or you want to say shook, the 49ers got. We haven't gotten to that, but Commanders play them. Like it could see what happens. So
it's not a gimme game for the 49ers.
No. That being said, I'm interested in what happens to the Commanders next in the off season, and it was an intriguing game. It was just at the end there. So anything else?
I don't know if there's any more we can say about the Jets that we haven't already mentioned in previous podcasts. Like,
right?
I mean, Trevor Siemian was good, but I mean, it looks like they were leading for most of the game and gave up a lead and made it closer than it should have been.
Right, but that was I think when Jacoby came in. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. That goes from like 27-7 to ending 30-28.
Yeah.
That was a little too close for comfort.
Yeah.
Especially from the Jets defense, which is the better part of their team.
Right.
But I mean, points to Breece Hall for having 95 yards rushing and 96 yards receiving.
95 each?
95 running and 96 receiving.
Whew, that is good. All right. Breece Hall, that was a good pickup. That was a good draft pick.
He should have been the true rookie of the like I felt like he definitely, if he didn't get injured, he would have been the rookie of the year last year, not Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
I'm like, the Jets, you deserve it. You just gave it to the one. It's just your running back. Your running back deserved it more, but
he didn't play the whole season.
His talent was true. His talent was real.
I think that's why I honestly think Puka might win it because of the stuff he's also breaking rookie records, and he's going to play like I think the full season. That might be.
I get it. Might depend on how CJ does the last few games since he's done with the concussion protocol. But
those couple games he missed, just like Jalen Hurts with the MVP last season, that just might make the difference. So we'll see.
I mean, if CJ wins the division or something, that might lead him to. They might give it to CJ.
We'll see. We shall see. It's going to be an interesting awards, NFL awards. We'll probably do a prediction show on that one. So let's go jump to some of these games were a little bit more interesting. So let's jump to the Packers and the Panthers.
Joe Barry's defense that's letting the Panthers thrive.
30 points. He gave Bryce Young his best game. Like that's why I'm a little iffy on the Packers.
Bryce Young throwing for 300 yards.
I mean, this is what we had hoped from Bryce Young. I don't know if this is a standalone game because of the defensive coordinator and Joe Barry in Green Bay. Jordan Love looked good. The only thing that I gotta say is like I just don't understand. Jaire Alexander is suspended for one game because he made himself a captain and went out on the field. So they're gonna hurt. So conduct detrimental to the team. So instead of so they suspended him in a big game, a playoff game. So because of a mistake he made. So instead of maybe benching him for a fourth quarter or something, or even like maybe the first like two defensive series, you're suspending. It's a team suspension.
You're hurting the team because you're saying. Granted, his conduct was not right. It might have hurt them.
Right.
He just went out there. He was not a captain. He did something he shouldn't have done. And granted, yes, he should face some sort of punishment, but that punishment should be something like either a fine or maybe like punish him in camp or something. But do not, like, if you need him to help you win on this playoff push because you're not out of it yet, because it depends on what happens with the Rams and the Seahawks as well. Like,
yeah,
you need every weapon available here.
He's arguably like I think he's their best defensive player. So like, was it selfish? Yeah. Did he? I know he called, like, he said like, no, we'll play defense, and they asked like defer. I know people were like criticizing about that, but I'm like, it's like, there are only four choices, like which way and offense, defer or accept the ball. So like, if he said defense, like slip of the tongue, like it's like there were only four choices. It was, or like there's only like choices. So was it bad? Yeah. I think it's silly. I think it's a big mistake to suspend him. I think sit him, give him an in-game punishment, but do not hinder. Like I absolutely hope. I'm just gonna be testing whoever Justin Jefferson. Like, I'm just throwing it to him, testing him every like getting it to him, because I don't know if they're gonna be able to stop their wide receivers.
They are starting Jaron Hall, so
okay.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah, but even if it's on screen passes, like even if it's short, like I think he could run. I think he could just get down the field, and as long as Jaron Hall can hit him, I think they'll get a couple scores just from this thing. And that's the thing. It's a in-season punishment and a suspension by the team for one whole game. Like it always reminded me of like when one bad kid, would affect the whole class. So like, oh, this bad kid, nobody gets a pizza party. Or nobody gets like we don't get the video or something like that. So like, why not just make him sit out of the room for like the like for the movie, or for like not the entire class, just for them, sit him out for like the first 15 minutes. Sit him out, let him do a report, let him do something. This is just dumb. I'm sorry. It's just I think it's dumb. All right, I think we're good on the Packers Panthers there. Let's
yeah, I think so. Just might be looking up good for both teams.
Right, let's move up to the Browns and the Texans. I want to save the Lions and the Vikings for after this one, because Browns just played good. No, the kicker situation was odd, but the Amari Dustin Hopkins pulled a hamstring and they couldn't kick the ball, so they had to start going for 2-point conversions, and they got him, and they just took such a massive lead. So
but no one could run the ball in the game, because the rushing leader out of both teams was Devin Singletary with 44.
Who needs to run the ball when you get Amari Cooper with 265
I know, right?
yards and like, I don't know, 2 touchdowns, 3, I forget how many he had, but he had he basically, he is the franchise like leader in receiving yards. So and only like, I think the third game between Joe Flacco and Amari Cooper. So like, could you have imagined if maybe the Ravens picked up Amari Cooper back when he beginning of his career, and during Joe Flacco's? Ooh boy.
Right, if Joe Flacco continues at this rate, then you might as well just try and get some money back from Deshaun Watson, because I would play Joe Flacco over Deshaun if they're getting this kind of performance out of if he's getting this kind of performance out of their weapons.
Yeah,
especially if you get Nick Chubb back.
Oh man,
I don't think Deshaun Watson was worth the money. And kind of super glad Miami dodged that bullet.
Right.
And everyone wanted him, but look at where Deshaun Watson is, and look at where Tua is.
Right? I mean, Deshaun played okay, but it's like he's not played what he was paid, and you could say that about like you could say that about a few other people too, and we'll talk about like Russell Wilson later on. But that I think we're gonna see a crash in the quarterback market soon, where because I mean, yeah, we want to develop, and there's gonna be superstar quarterbacks, but how many of them are really gonna be worth this money where they take away like you know, from being able to get other talent around?
See, what I didn't care for about Deshaun Watson, and you know, when he was good with the Texans, but his best statistical season, they had 4 wins.
So that means that they were playing garbage time a lot, I'm guessing.
So I don't know the context of the stats, but if your best statistical season only gets you 4 wins, that's not a quarterback I want. And that was like his last season before the hiatus or whatever. And then he went to the Browns, and then he looks and then was suspended, and then comes back and plays like, you know, and then he's not even playing up to the statistical level.
See, I don't know how to feel about that, because I want to say I'm not a QB wins guy. Like, I don't think that there should be a stat, but I don't know, because like on one hand there's Gardner Minshew, who has had good stats but doesn't win, and then but at the same time I'm like, you know, it's like, you know, if you've heard any of the NFL news, you know about what's going on with Russell Wilson and the Broncos. Has he had good stats? Yeah, but has he had great? So it's like, you know, some of those stats where you're getting, it's like, I really don't know if I care about the stats as much as I just want the wins.
Exactly. But the thing with Deshaun Watson was he had great stats, but it wasn't equaling wins.
Yeah.
And if you are performing great and the rest of the team around you isn't performing great, then I don't know. The defense, I guess, was probably wrong. I have to go back check that season for the Texans, but because I don't know it off the top of my head. But it just feels that was just one of the reasons why I never wanted to trade Tua. Like, Tua is fantastic, and I will get into him later. But this is just like, I think and this is why Joe Flacco is the better. I think will be the better option. Or like while DTR learns more, I think DTR can be good given time to learn and get more experience with the game.
Who's their other quarterback that got injured this year?
PJ Walker.
Yeah. So
he's been good in the other league. So
right, but I mean, they just seems like they just need. Honestly, I don't think they would have had this problem if they would have just let Baker get healthy. And
no,
you can't deny what he's doing right now in Tampa Bay. And I think if he had, honestly, everybody wants to say about Odell, but like Odell had a really good run to the Super Bowl with the Rams. But like, honestly, if he had an Amari Cooper,
you don't spend the money on here. You keep Baker. You don't spend the money on Deshaun. Means you have more money to get more weapons for Baker. They might have already won the Super Bowl.
Right. They are what they are right now. We'll see what happens with them. But you know, I think they made a mistake getting rid of Baker, and we'll see what happens with them in the long run. But they're really proving you need a good quarterback. You don't need the outstanding quarterback right now, at least this season. And if defenses keep playing like, you know, how they're playing, like, you know, we'll have to see how it goes. But
I mean, you need a great team.
You
don't need a great quarterback. You need a great team. And as Super Bowl champions like Brad Johnson and Trent Dilfer have shown us for quarterbacks, and I knew even Peyton, when he won the Super Bowl again, was not playing probably playing at his worst since his rookie season.
Well, yeah, and you know, everybody, you know, it's like everybody wants to call Tom Brady the GOAT. I never believed that, mostly because when you really look at a lot of his games, and even the games with the Super Bowls Ben Roethlisberger won, it was a lot of those games are carried by the defense. Like, seriously, like the ones that I can think of that, like, I think Peyton won his first one. I don't think that was really the defense. I don't think it was just the defense. But when you look at a lot of these other games and teams over a lot, you know, it's like Nick Foles and Patrick Mahomes, those were offensive ones.
But I mean, even Brady, when Brady was at his best, when they had the best offense in football,
they
lose the Super Bowl. It was the only game they lose.
Right? They had good defense.
The Giants had a great team, and the Giants lost to them in the regular season, but came back and won them the Super Bowl because they had the ability to adapt against them, and they were a great 8 teams.
Wasn't it? And it was like a 17-14 like victory or something like
Something
that
like
in
that.
the Super Bowl. So like it's like they're defense. It's like they've said, defense wins championship. When you really look at the last like since 2000, because like I could argue like 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 John Elway had good offense and defense. Same thing with like Brett Favre and The Greatest Show on Turf and stuff like that. But like ever since like the Baltimore Ravens and onward, I think there's been a lot more where you can say like this was like there was a good there was at least a decent offense to a good offense, even some great ones. But there was always, with the exception of a few outliers, there was always a great defense. You can say that with both Baltimore teams, the Seahawks in 2013, the Broncos in 2015, the fact that like the Buccaneers got to Patrick Mahomes because of the injuries on the O-line. Like the defense is what stopped Kansas City from scoring. So like when I see that, it's like it's defense.
It is defense. Like even in some of these games this season, Miami's losses have come because the defense has disrupted our offense, has disrupted to his rhythm. If we can't do anything on offense because the defense stops it, we can't win. And we have the Dolphins have like the number one offense in football. And if the number one offense can't perform because the defense is disrupting it, that's why defense wins defense wins championships.
And we'll talk more about Russ when we get to the Broncos. But the games that we lost, there were some that we lost because defense sucked. But it's like there are some games the quarterback, if you're the type and quality and getting paid like the quarterback you should be, to be able to, like if the defense has a bad day, should be able to overcome that.
There will be another game we'll get to later that defense really rocked and socked one of the best teams in the league.
Well, I was gonna say, it just reminded me of like we talked about the Chiefs and the Raiders. Like,
Defense destroyed wrecked the Chiefs. They weren't able to they weren't able to get past.
Yeah, but if right now, just off of some of the teams, I really gotta since Jalen Ramsey came back from injury, the Dolphins defense looked good, the Ravens defense looked good, and the Browns defense looked good. If the Bills defense can really come together, shore up on the defensive side, right? Shore up. I don't know what I hear it on TV. I'm blanking on. But whatever. If they show up, show out. I wasn't sure if it was shore up or show up, but either way,
shore up. I don't know. Sure, I'm not sure.
Well, my point being is, right now, I really gotta say, I feel like the Browns, the Dolphins, and the Ravens have the best chance as far as making it to the Super Bowl on the AFC side. Same thing. It's like I think it's the 49ers, the Cowboys. That those feel like as long as their defenses can play, like they, whoever has the best defense can. But right now, I gotta give it to the AFC. Feels like they've got the best chance because their defense. Like, so we'll see what happens. But the Browns, I feel like they're at least a contender for the AFC Championship game.
They are. Their team has put them in a good place. Even getting Joe Flacco has been a boon for them. Like just that he was available and that with the right team he can play this is just fantastic for them.
Yeah,
I think that's good on this game. I mean, CJ's cleared the concussion protocol, so the Texans fans must be happy.
Right, I think they got a chance at least winning the division as long as CJ stays healthy.
Right,
he's gonna be injured. Honestly, I won't be surprised if the Colts and Texans win and the Jaguars lose, or if they all win. What I forget who the Jaguars playing. Are they
the Panthers this week?
Okay, so there's a chance that I very much could see that there could be fighting a last playoff spot. I could see the Colts versus the Texans being the Sunday night prime time. Whoever wins makes it into the playoffs. We shall see. So that's gonna be exciting these last 2 weeks.
Right, it'll be a fun time.
So I think we're good to move on.
Now we'll move on to the Lions and the Vikings. Surprisingly, went back and forth.
Right.
I was really impressed by the both teams to a degree, but really like the Lions. They won, so they won 30-24, and they clinched the NFC North for the first time
ever.
Right, because they were last time they clinched it was the NFC Central.
Right, and it's the first time in like 30 years that they clinched the title too.
Right. Yep. There was standout performances by a lot of the Lions, except for rookie Sam Laporta, who was the one one of the lames who I'm saying who cost me my game. Amon-Ra St. Brown was one of the ones who helped me stay close in the game. But the Lions look good. The Vikings are.
They're really you're really missing Kirk Cousins.
I mean, yeah, they're turning the ball over too much with the quarterback. Like 400 yards is something special from Nick Mullins, but 4 interceptions is not good. The 400 yards are really negated from the 4 interceptions.
Yeah, but I think the Lions can be dangerous, especially if they only have to travel on the road once.
Mhm.
Like I think I think if they continue, they could definitely get in the number 2 seed.
Yeah.
But it was a back and forth game, so I got to give credit to the Vikings. Even for 4 turnovers, they kept it really close.
Right. I mean, throwing for 400 yards is no slouch achievement from Nick Mullins. Granted, he did not keep the starting job, but
Yeah.
I think they're missing like some sort of running attack because they barely had any. I mean, granted, they threw for 400 yards, but still.
Right.
They just didn't have all those turnovers. They probably would have. The turnovers probably cost them the game, honestly.
Pretty much. But hey, the Lions held on, and that's what you need against teams that are it's like I think I don't want to say the Vikings are a bad team. I think they're I think they're a pretty good average team because I think there's a lot of it's been a lot of tough teams this year. So
that they're kind of still competitive and not exactly out of it still with being on their 4th quarterback and having 4 quarterbacks, and that like they're still haven't found one that's exactly right for them. So I don't know. I don't really think they're going to make it unless like Jaron Hall actually minimizes mistakes and utilizes these weapons really well. But
I mean, he just got injured. That was the only reason he wasn't in his last game. He played in, so we'll have to see what happens.
I mean, if he can take advantage against Joe Barry's defense, I don't know.
Right? So I think that pretty much covers them.
Mm-hmm.
I know we were talking off recording. You wanted to talk about the Colts and the Falcons.
Yes, I was mentioning about there was like a quick note about like I think the Colts play the Raiders next week, and I know that's going to be like difficult for the Colts to. It sounds like a difficult matchup for the Colts, but we can jump into because the Colts had a difficult matchup against the Falcons here.
Right. I mean, I know the Falcons are at home and they play. I mean, they are definitely one of those coin flip-flop, inconsistent teams.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call them. They scored that they were 29. They won 29-10. Their defense played good. Their offense played good. They did everything right. So how come they just win this game? I mean, it can't be just because they're at home.
They kicked a ton of field goals. Literally, like I'm looking at the scoring summary after the touchdown. Younghoe Koo. Oh, there's a touchdown. Then Younghoe Koo.
I figured it was like 5 field goals.
Yes.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns and 5 field goals equals 29.
Yeah.
But it's still them moving the ball. Like when you realize like times where they haven't moved the ball to even get in field goal range.
I mean, Taylor Heineke is a pretty solid quarterback.
Yeah, he's that kind of backup that can get you a couple wins when your quarterback goes down. I don't know if he's a whole season starter, but
well, I mean, they utilized their weapons right. The running attack was like 177 yards rushing between 3 running backs. So
right, well, when you can do that, they can really keep the offense on the field, and that's all you really need. You just need a win.
Oh, and Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier had each had a 30+ yard run each. So
stuff like that is just what's gonna keep you on the field and keep the opponent sidelined. So and wear out the defense.
Yeah, and that's the key thing about running the ball is that it wears out the defense. It allows and it opens up like play action and it does so much for the offense, which is why having a tough physical running ability is so important.
Yeah. Now, speaking of I don't really think there's much left to say there. I was gonna say another team that felt like they were in that same boat, not necessarily with just their run game, but the pass game was the Buccaneers against the Jaguars, where the Buccaneers did like everything. They were throwing the ball, they were running the ball. I almost every time I felt like they were scoring so much. Like every other time I heard something, I thought it was about them.
They did. The only quarter they didn't score in was the fourth, and it was pretty much over by then.
Right? I mean, I don't know if Baker finished the game, but he was definitely like, but it wasn't like he needed to. Like they didn't need to worry about injuries. So the Jaguars, they've lost something in there. I mean, I don't feel like they run the ball as much or as good, and their defense hasn't really been playing that well. So
It's really been like with like the Jaguars and like the Colts are both on downward spirals. Like just for them, it feels pretty easy for Houston as long as CJ Stroud's okay to take this division. I mean, I know Jacksonville's against Carolina, but still, I don't know if Jacksonville. I'm still not 100% sold on Jacksonville this week.
no, I'm not sold on them even making the playoffs, even as a wild card. Though.
I mean, I know Trevor's hurt, and
Well, and new injuries like every week, so it's like Baker Mayfield all over again. Back in Cleveland. So
I mean, they did have a lot of. I mean, they had a lot of yards and stuff. So
right.
but no, the Bucks look like they're gonna take the South, and I think depending on how trending the NFC East team they play is I feel like they're at home. They will take care of either NFC East team.
And with how the NFC is, who knows if they win a game, one of the lower seeds wins the game, they could be hosting another. They have a chance at hosting another playoff game. But I could see, but I also could see them winding up playing against the Lions. So
yeah, granted, if they play one of the NFC East teams,
right. That being said, Mike Evans is still awesome and way underrated.
Well, they actually used Evans and Godwin to the best of their ability. I always thought they were one of the best duos, and like how we said about great teams win Super Bowls. Like Brady inherited two of the best receivers.
Yeah, he just went to a team just like Peyton that was like quarterback away, and more so Tom Brady because he did it in first year. So other than that, but no, I don't know. He's got so many 100-yard games, whether it's touchdown, receiving yards. He's making Jerry Rice numbers. So that's super impressive. You don't get to be on a lot of lists with Jerry Rice. He's one of them.
Right.
Let's go on to Seahawks and Titans. That one. Ryan Tannehill had as many throwing touchdowns as Derrick Henry in that game. I think so. I think it's time for Ryan Tannehill to retire.
Retire or become a backup.
Right. Hey, he made it to an AFC title game, so he did a good job, and he had a pretty good career, all things considered. Not like not a Hall of Fame career, but a good one overall. So.
Honestly, if he wanted to go to, I don't know if Arthur Smith is still going to be the coach of the Falcons, but he was someone who I think got a lot out of Ryan. If that was the place he wanted to go,
I could see that. That's definitely a possibility. But let's I was gonna say about the game. Seahawks came back and won. Last game-winning touchdown by Geno Smith this week, just like Drew Lock did it the week before.
Just wanting to say about it wasn't that Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill had the same amount of touchdowns in this game.
Oh, they have the same amount
of touchdowns this year.
I was hoping I was wrong. I really didn't. Well, yeah. If I said it the way it was,
Yes.
it was like.
Yeah, he had no. He didn't even have a touchdown this game, Ryan Tannehill. Granted, I mean the touchdowns were scored by Derrick Henry throwing and rushing. So.
Right, but either way, it's still pretty bad that Ryan Tannehill does not have that many. Because it wasn't like Will Levis took right over after one bad game, or even two. It was a lot of bad games. So.
Yeah, he got sacked 6 times.
But either way, good work, Juno, getting the game-winning drive at the end there. Like I said, he got one. Drew Lock had one last week, and what else? The Seahawks are right in it, in the playoffs, and I think I think we're on the rebuild stage of I think time to trade away Derrick Henry and try and get some pieces to rebuild here in the next year or two. You're gonna probably be at the bottom with the way the other teams are looking, but Titans just need a few pieces, and I think they can really rebuild.
I mean, the future looks bright with how Will Levis has played and Tajay Spears has played, and you have like a good nucleus, but they need more pieces.
Yeah.
Traylon Burks is all right, but not exactly
AJ,
not the AJ Brown they need him to be just yet. But
that's pretty much it. They gotta just build on from there. So, Seahawks are still alive.
I think
Pete
they'll
Carroll's,
do good.
When you look at what he's done with Gino, and you kind of see stuff with Russ and stuff going on in Denver. There's a lot.
I remember a few years ago, like last year, I think it was, we were talking, and we talked about like, oh, they should get rid of Pete Carroll, like, and because of how bad they were playing, and it really seems like Russ was the problem in Seattle for them.
Yeah. And we'll get into Russ a little bit more later. Let's just quickly go on to the Bears and the Cardinals. Justin Fields doing stuff that we wanted to see him do for a while. They won the game. They were looking good. That's Cole Kmet got hurt, but we'll see we'll see what happens with the Bears. These teams are both a work in progress, and that's I think the nicest way I can say anything about them.
The Bears doubled their wins from last season, and they are way better than I was giving them credit for.
So I guess we'll see what happens.
Right.
I mean, they got the number 1 pick, so it's like if they really like Justin Fields, you trade back a little bit, you get Marvin Harrison Jr., you got DJ Moore and Marvin Harrison Jr., and just blow everybody up on offense. Like you smash them. Like there should be no question there. So like that is an option.
Right. You might have like 3. If you trade back, you could probably have maybe 3 top 10 picks. Granted, I don't know where they will lie in their own. I don't know if they have a top 10 pick now from their own pick with the Panthers pick, but you could have 3 top 10 picks, and with how the players in the drafts have been lately, that could change your entire team to fight for the North easy.
Wait, how do they get 3 top 10?
I'm saying if they trade back.
But how would they have a third?
Oh, you're right. My bad. Right? Yeah, they'd have to trade with a team with 2. Why am I saying this? Okay, so I'm math's bad in my head.
That's okay.
It's not the first time.
Nope. Nor will it be the last. But I just want to make sure I wasn't missing something.
Nope. I'm the crazy one. Ha ha ha.
All right. So, like I said, Cardinals, we'll see what happens with them too. They got top of the draft. There's going to be a lot of rebuilding, and we'll see what happens with Kyler Murray. And I do think they've got some good. I think Trey McBride's good. I think James Conner is still good. And what's the other guy with the Dortch? Okay. I think they got some room they got some people that can play. So
these guys really work well with Kyler Murray. I think they just need like a number 1 like a more of a number 1 threat type deal.
Well, and then again with them also Marvin Harrison, Jr.
Well, I mean that's the thing about Chicago. If they want to keep Justin Fields, do you move back if Arizona is going for Marvin Harrison Jr. and you just take the number one pick and use it for Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Yeah.
Because if you don't and you trade back, you're probably going to lose Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals unless the Cardinals move back.
Well, and the big question is Marvin Harrison Jr. like that great of a talent? Like, is he going to be like, as people say, like Justin Jefferson? Like number 1 wide receivers are hard to come by, but if he's got that talent, yeah, you probably should take him with the number 1 pick. I don't actually, it reminds me of like Calvin Johnson.
Right, and he turned out well.
So maybe you should, if Chicago ends up with number 1, maybe you should keep your quarterback and get the best wide receiver. And
it would be
somebody would have to like offer a lot. Like it wouldn't just be this, they're number 1 this year, but it'd have to be number 1 the next couple of years.
It would be the wildest draft if the first 2, with 2 of the best like quarterbacks, everyone's hyped up with Caleb Williams and Drake May, and I've seen some others in college that look great. It would be the craziest draft if the first 2 picks with those quarterbacks are like Marvin Harrison Jr. and someone else. It's not a quarterback because the Bears and the Cardinals choose to keep theirs,
right?
And don't trade down.
I'm hoping for Jaden Daniels now.
Mm-hmm.
That's his name.
Yes, the one that won the
Heisman.
Yeah. But they might make offers people can't refuse that the Bears and Cardinals trade down.
Right. So we shall see. We'll have plenty of draft coverage and episodes when we're.
Don't rush us.
Well, there's a reason. But do you want to go first?
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the Dolphins.
Yes. The game that gave me cardiac problems. Yeah, no, like it was back and forth, and it was practically everything I thought it was going to be. A tough physical game between Miami and Dallas, and Jason Sanders basically kicked us to the victory. Like, that was 3 50-yard field goals, and just, it was impressive. Like, really, like, he was one of the big highlights. But no, Dallas was tough, and I'm just happy we finally ended the narrative. We couldn't beat a good team. We beat a good team. And stuff. Dallas, like, we only won because we had the ball last. That was basically it.
Yeah, and that's how something, that's,
I mean, granted, we figured them out a bit because, like, CeeDee Lamb, like, scored in the very beginning, had like a long ass.
Oh no, that was one of the best plays I think of the season, and I don't think it gets talked about a lot, but I thought that was one of the best play of the weekend, and like the best like catch, run, play, everything. Like,
yeah, and then they don't score till the third quarter, or don't score again till a field goal till the third quarter. So, and like, so basically, like, the defense, we figured them out and we stopped them for a bit. It just, they kind of woke up towards the end, and that's what made it a nail biter. Like, I was legitimately, like, it was like the last play, like, it was at the field goal, and I'm like, I am a freaking mess with full of anxiety, because I'm like, oh my god, he's made 3 50-yard field goals. Oh my god, he's gonna miss the super easy one.
Did he win NFL? Did he win the AFC Special Teams Player of the Week? Because yeah, it was impressive to just make, first of all, 3 50-yarders. Like, I can't remember last time somebody did that, and like, maybe it's been done this season, but that's still just impressive, because like, let's admit, last season Jason Sanders had some really bad misses.
Yes, and yes, he did win Special Player of the Week.
For the AFC, or
the AFC player, and the AFC. Basically, what Mike McDaniel said, that he thought there was nothing that he couldn't improve upon, and that's what I love about Mike McDaniel, is that for once I feel like we are not a stagnant team, that we are a team that evolves through the season. That there was so many teams that we were one way, like, we just couldn't fix it. Our coaches just could not fix how we are. We were how we were. It was just how we were. We couldn't get better. And the great teams evolve as they play. And Miami is nowhere near the same team it's been throughout when it loses. Each loss helps us get better, and each game we just like improve in different ways, just because Mike McDaniel and the entire coaching staff is just doing wonders here.
Yeah,
and it's been a lot of painful years.
Right. I mean, I think the advantage was that you played in Miami.
Yeah, basically.
Because it's the first time, like, Dallas lost like back-to-back games.
In
like 2 years.
Yeah, in 2 years they were 9-0 in back-to-back. They have not lost. They did not lose back-to-back games, and they were like 9-0, and so that's also an impressive stat that we beat them.
Right, 9-0 in road games. I think after they lost, or at least in games that they lost, they didn't lose another one. So.
Yeah, so it was very tough, and
Dallas. Yeah. So I think that loss. They don't have an easy road. They've got. I mean, yeah, they got Washington at the end, and if they're like, if they lose to, if they don't win the East or something like that, I can see them like resting players on the last week or something like that, because I don't know if they need another.
Right.
Like I would definitely take some of the rest if they're not guaranteed the number 1 seed. And at that time, if they don't have a chance at the at least at the number 2 seed, like winning the division, then it's worth it to get the rest and get ready for most likely Tampa Bay.
Right, they're gonna need help, because if they don't win any more games, I don't know if they move down. If any other team at 10 gets to 10 wins, if they're but I still think they're fighting for the division. But to need like Arizona and the Giants to win games, I mean, granted, you might get the Giants, because the Eagles, if they win, might just rest if they can't get the number 1 seed against the Giants.
Right. We'll definitely see how things go between the weekends.
But yeah, it depends. But yeah, the Dolphins, like, just Tua got threw for almost 300 yards, and just everyone played great. I don't even know. we didn't. I don't think we. No, we didn't turn the ball over at all. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember watching. I don't remember there being a
And
turnover.
the-
They had a turnover on downs, like you stopped them on the
Mhm.
1 yard line, but they didn't turn it over.
right, yeah,
They didn't have a. You didn't cause a turnover. You
Yeah.
just stopped them on down, turned the ball over.
yeah,
I
they-
think that's a different stat.
yeah, and there's and Tua only got sacked once against Micah
Nice.
Parsons and that defense. So the O line and with
Well,
Liam
that-
Eichenberg as center is holding up. So.
It was a good test for the Ravens.
And so yeah, now we go play the Ravens for the
Possibility of
believe
the
number one seed.
All right.
So I'm excited.
All right. My turn.
If you want.
I mean, it was the Broncos against the Patriots. We all know the Broncos were going to win this game, and they didn't.
Because Bill Belichick Bill Belichick wants to screw over the Patriots.
Pretty much that, and I mean, well, the Marvin Mims fumble really hurt on special teams on the kickoff, so that was a touchdown, an extra touchdown right away. That put us down. I think like 2 touchdowns or like I think it was it was like 7-23.
It was 7-23.
Yeah, we were down by 16 points, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, you only lost by a field goal, but if they don't beat you if they don't have that touchdown,
right? Or if we could have scored off that first drive, and I understand going for 7, it's 0-0. We were on the 1 yard line and we couldn't get it in. So like, I mean, I would have liked the 3 points there, but there were misses by the field goal kicker from them too. I think that's actually why we were. I think they missed an extra point too, and that's why it was like 16 points instead of 17. Yeah, it had to be. But that being said,
they missed the extra points. So.
Yeah, it was just there. It wasn't the only week, and then the big news this week, like Russ is getting benched. And honestly, I've heard different sports shows and different people, talk about it, and I still have to listen to a few other people. I do think ultimately it is a money decision, and I mean, but he's also not playing that great. So he's got like 26 touchdowns and like 8 interceptions, but like at least 10, I think, touchdowns that he missed throughout the season. That he'd actually, if he made those and had some better stats, guess what? We'd have more wins. We'd be ahead of the Chiefs, and he'd probably actually be getting MVP votes right now. Is it all him? No, but I mean, you're doing great with Cortland Sutton, but like, I mean, it's not like Jerry Jeudy isn't talented. Like, where's the ball going outside? It's like you used to be able to throw it to like Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf and other wide receivers before those two.
I remember he also had like Freddie Swain. I remember was just a random third one on the Seahawks.
But he had Doug Baldwin and wasn't it like, didn't he have Marvin Jones? Had somebody else that was there were those like not your top speed but they were like reliable, dependable guys. Like I might be thinking of somebody else, honestly.
Probably.
But I just don't know why.
They had like Golden Tate and Percy Harvin.
That was who I was thinking. Golden Tate went to the Lions.
Yeah, other
Lions
one that went to the Seahawks, not Marvin.
Thank you. I knew there was somebody that went from there to the Lions, but I don't know. It's like we're gonna be in cap hell, and that's another thing with George Paton is that he really screwed us over with this re-sign and stuff. And I don't know the whole deal. The extension. Like, I don't know the whole deal about like how much is it going to be if he stays on the the vested if he can't pass a physical type thing. Like, I know there's some stuff to that, but like, if he just like does he have the power? Like, are we gonna release him? I still need to find that out, because like it's like there's stuff here. Like, are we sure he couldn't just sit on the bench?
I think he's probably going to be released because of how much money he's going to get. Like that you probably don't want to pay him before March because of the first cuts and stuff.
But I thought the way that they were talking about it was if he got injured,
no,
2025 money would come in early.
He has both that injury clause and the regular money that they probably don't want to pay him, and he probably is kind of upset with all this stuff that apparently has gone on. Like, I don't know if he wants to be there anymore, honestly.
I mean, he did want to come here, and I like, as a business, as a fan, like, I don't blame team if they're like, well, like, sports is a unique business, because you're realistically paying for the same production that you already had to keep that same production, if not more production in the future. And if you don't, like Russell Wilson, haven't kept up your end of the deal, they want to rework the contract. And it's like you make this money because of what you did previously. Like, it's like I think about any other job. Seriously, you get a job, and anybody else out there working a job, you go for a new job, or you stay in the company, whatever. You're saying you have all of these qualifications. You did such a good job. You go in and you're kind of like not doing what your resume said and your production showed from a different company or a different area of like you got the raise and the promotion. You're not going to you may not keep that job. Unfortunately for the average person, they don't get to sign a contract. Most people don't get to sign a contract that's like, few years here, few year deal here, and you get to keep the money for not performing services. So like it's a weird thing where it's like I feel bad for Russ, but Russ does have a lot of money, and I mean he is a good guy, but at the same time, like if it, I know they were saying about like, hey, can you get I don't know how much they wanted to rework some of that contract and stuff, because probably wanted some pieces too, especially if it was before the trade deadline. So who knows? Only like Russ and probably Sean and Sean Payton and George Payton probably know, but like it's gonna be like cap space hell, but honestly they'll figure it out. I'm just saying it right here and right now. I think we'll have, I don't know what his contract looks like, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get Jameis Winston, since he had his best seasons under Sean Payton. So
I can see that. I'm like honestly surprised he didn't end up getting back Teddy Bridgewater as a backup, but we'll see about how Jarrett Stidham does. I think Jarrett Stidham I think has potential, so if he plays well and you magically do get to the playoffs, you never know.
Right, that'd be a miracle one.
I mean, if you can get more out of your weapons with a different quarterback, then it shows that Russ is the problem. And honestly, Russ holds the ball too long. Like he might like he holds the ball too long, and it creates time for him getting sacked. And it's like, I mean, granted, I know he can make some plays out of it and scrambling around, but it feels like his programming or like how he's just been used to things is not helping him here. As I've said before, he's not like, I don't feel he's the problem, but I also don't feel like he's the solution.
Yeah, but and I know it's gonna be crazy, but I actually like Sean Payton. I like that he's called out people, cut some like higher names, like he cut Frank Clark, got rid of Randy Gregory, some of this talent that he's up and building that's really young, and I really don't mind it. I think it's good for the team, and I think
Also, you might have won these games if Nick Bonito wasn't injured.
Well, he was coming up. He was big, but hopefully he's not injury prone and he'll have a good season next year too.
Right.
That being said, I don't really. It's gonna be an interesting saga in the offseason. Like I said, I was looking at Jameis Winston's contract. He said it signed a 2-year extension last year, but then it also said he re-signed this year. So I don't know what his contract really looks like, but I wouldn't be surprised if Jameis Winston, who is only currently 29, he will be 30 in next week, like in a week, January 4th. So he's still got some time, if he can be healthy. Like, and I'm not saying like he's going to be like the leader who leads us, but like if we need a bridge quarterback, if we draft somebody who can learn from, learn the system and all that stuff, like it could happen. So
great. I feel like you're going to stick with Jarrett Stidham unless he's like absolutely terrible.
Right, but Jared also just might be the bridge quarterback too, because he's got a 2-year deal too, and
that's what
I definitely think we're drafting somebody.
Yeah, definitely feel like there's enough college quarterbacks, and this is the right year to draft one.
Right, I know everybody's like, oh, what are you gonna do? Like the Broncos can't get Caleb Williams or Drake May. I'm like, but there's like at least 8 other quarterbacks that look pretty decent coming out. I mean, yeah, I know Bo Nix is a little older. I know Michael Penix Jr. is a little like injury prone in college, and a little not as young as the other guys. But there's like I said, Jaden Daniels. There's a few others that I can't think of off the top of my head right now, but it ain't gonna hurt.
I mean, look at how well Drake May and Caleb Williams did this season. I mean, Caleb wasn't the Heisman Trophy winner, so
right. And who knows? Like with the quarterbacks, who knows with the rest of the quarterbacks? So we'll see. It's gonna be interesting. Like I'm definitely gonna be watching that East West Shrine game, the Senior Bowl, looking at quarterbacks that are who knows. I'm I don't know if they've announced coaches. I wouldn't mind if Sean Payton wanted to coach one of those just to get an idea on the quarterbacks, because I know that's always
Yeah.
a boon.
Right, I know the Senior Bowl is normally the most secure coaches from like the lower seeds of the NFL. So like it's not gonna be like the Panthers head coach because they need to pick one.
Right.
But it might be like
It might be Robert Saleh and the Jet staff. But we'll see.
Or Matt Eberflus if he's managed to keep his job.
Well, we'll see on Black Monday.
Mhm.
But that being said, let's move on. Looking at the games, which one haven't we talked about yet?
Did we finish all of? I think we're on Monday night now, or Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
afternoon.
I know we talked about the Raiders. Yeah, we were
Monday afternoon.
almost done here. Man, I can't believe the Eagles only won by a score. Like 8-point game right there.
Right.
Giants, first Tyrod Taylor looked good. I'm glad he's starting this week. This was in Philly, so I'm going to see. I think the Giants might be able to get one in New York during the final week.
Right.
Especially display spoilers to their rival,
Mm-hmm.
cross-state rival or whatever.
Man, MetLife is like the last place you want to play right before the playoffs.
Right? You honestly, I would almost rather I'd rather bring in the backups and like make sure my players stay healthy, because you do not want like Jalen Hurts going out with an injury because of MetLife Stadium, or Jason Kelsey or
anyone on the
Brown or anybody, honestly. So, but that being said, the Eagles didn't look all that great. I don't know I think the lack of coaching I think the coordinators are really important, and I think Philly fans were spoiled, especially when I see Jonathan Gannon keeping the Cardinals competitive and with at least 2 more wins than I thought they were going to have, or maybe even 3. I don't know if I had them at 0, but I had them at least 1.
This was the most competitive 3-12 team I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Like you end up winning, but it's not easy to do.
No.
And Shane Steichen still being in the playoff picture, even with a backup quarterback and stuff. Like
they're the Vikings of last season. It just caught up to them a lot sooner in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. I'm not holding my breath for them to.
Like
I don't know if they'll even make it out of the first round and out of wild card weekend.
Well, if they make it to let's see. If they play the Seahawks, I mean, they lost to the Seahawks already. They might be able to the Seahawks might be able to replicate the same performance. They play the Rams, I don't think so. And if they end up against, and I've already said, is whoever the Bucks play, whichever NFC team they play, they're going to probably win. And if they magically get the number 1 seed, they're going to lose to whoever wins.
I could see it. Bucks are playing a different. They're playing differently than how they were at the beginning of the season. They were pretty good in the beginning. They dropped, and now they're coming back. Like they found themselves, kind of like the Rams. Really, like I feel like they could be sneaky dangerous.
If you're not playing your best football now, then you're not gonna get it. Then you're gonna have issues in the playoffs.
Yep. So anything else? I know we
already
talked
about it. I mean, Tyrod Taylor looks good. Like I feel bad for Tommy DeVito, but I think he just might need more time.
Maybe he could be a solid backup.
Right. I don't know if he's the answer or not, but I mean, he's done pretty well for a rookie. But
Saquon Barkley, I think he had a good game if I remember correctly.
80 yards rushing. Yeah.
It's not like the best, but a good one.
They need more weapons on offense. The receivers are all right. I mean, Tyrod got more out of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's a rookie or 2 in there. So.
Yeah, I think. No, I know Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson have been there before, but
yeah,
they just need to, if they grow into better.
Slayton's been there, but
they need better stuff.
I think.
I don't see Hyatt on the list, so I don't know if he was hurt.
But like, I feel like he could.
Yeah, if Jalen Hyatt.
He can come together in the next couple of years. So we'll see.
If he does, they definitely need him to evolve into a better player and maybe get another weapon. And they needed better chemistry with Darren Waller as well.
Right, I know he dropped a couple passes. Is it Jalen?
Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah, okay. That's what I'm like. I remember somewhat some of these players. All right, if that's it, let's. I don't know how much time we're going to spend on this one, but it's
you mean the game that everyone has talked about?
Right. I mean, it was Monday night. It was a big game. game. Ravens were the underdog, and they came back, and they came up and won. And Lamar looked great. The defense really couldn't touch him. I don't think he got sacked maybe a couple times, and one of them was by the refs.
Oh yes, the ref. I saw a meme like the ref, the only guy who could take down Lamar Jackson.
Right. I mean, to be fair, if he wasn't a ref, he would have been called for tripping because that was a tripping penalty. But you can't call ref. It's so weird. It's like it's a penalty, but they're the refs, and it's like they are the third team on the field. Everybody wants to be like, oh, well, you can't, like argue. It's like the refs are there. It's like it's like they're always going to be there. Yeah, exactly. They're there. They interfered with the.
I feel like the ref could tackle someone and get ejected. The ref would get ejected, but you couldn't do anything against the ref. If the ref went rogue, they'd be they'd be fired. But still,
right. But anyways, that was just like the first score of the game. It was 2-0 for a little bit there.
Always good to get the mistakes out in the beginning.
Right, but Lamar looked good. Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely was playing good. Kyle Hamilton, that defense. I didn't even know they had some of the pieces. Like they have Kyle Van Noy. They have what's his name? They have Jadeveon Clowney. I know they got Roquan Smith and Patrick Williams, but they got that killer defense. So we'll see if they can.
Well, Kyle Hamilton was the star of the show, honestly, with those interceptions. I mean, the defense got 4 interceptions on Brock Purdy, and that really hurt him.
I mean, 2 of them were his fault. 2 of them were like tip drills and stuff like that. So like,
I know tip drills should not count against the quarterback, and sometimes like these defensive players just make plays. It's not really bad on the quarterback,
especially since like Kyle Hamilton had I think Christian McCaffrey like chop blocked him and then he got up. There was a whole sequence. I didn't really understand all of it, but either way, I mean that one if he just decided to like go down and like let them redo, like it would have been nothing. Like it would have been like the penalty would have been enforced. So that like one of those ones maybe he could have caught, Brock Purdy could have caught. But you know what? I saw a stat where it was like I think Tom Brady, Kurt Warner, and somebody else had 4 interception games too. So like he was on a list of like Super Bowl champions and winners and good, all that good stuff. So.
I mean, 4 interceptions. I feel Brock will bounce back. These are like the wake up sucker punch games that like the Titans did to the Dolphins. This is just you lost to a good team, and for the Ravens, they probably don't want to see the 49ers again because I don't think the 49ers are going to let them do that again.
Right? Especially like they, they say like Brock Purdy's like he is. I feel he's the center. He's a good quarterback because he, it's like nobody was getting up open. They didn't. I don't think they tried enough like special like end arounds, like getting Debo the ball, like run it. So I think some of it was on coaching.
Debo only ran for 7 yards.
And I like Kyle Shanahan, but that sounds like 1 play maybe at best 2.
That was 2 carries.
That being said, You're right. I don't think that they'd want to see each other again in the Super Bowl. I don't think they will. I don't know if they will. I feel like this is definitely 49ers a great bounce back game against the Commanders.
And they're either beat up and might lose the Commanders or they might score 70 on the Commanders. We will see.
Right. Meanwhile, Ravens, you've got them. They're banged up. You're banged up. So we know at this point you weren't going to be 100%. But the great news is the biggest worry was it wasn't going to be a Tua versus Lamar. We are getting Tua versus Lamar, which, I mean, it's happened, I think, a couple times at least. I forget if Lamar was in that other one back on the Thursday night, I think 2 years ago or something. Remember when we were at like Village Pub and watching that? I forget if Lamar played in that one, but they did play last year.
That was an exciting game.
And they did not forget that game. I guarantee it. So it's going to be exciting. I wish it wasn't on at 10 o'clock in the morning, but you know what? It's going to be better this way, so you'll not all the focus is going to be on that game. So
I mean, it's almost a nationally televised game, except we don't get it because of the Raiders.
Yep,
funsies.
Red zone.
You better win, Raiders. You better win just for the hell of it. Just if you're interrupting. But yeah, red zone.
And to make it really interesting, especially if the Chiefs lose and the Broncos win, because everybody going to be watching that in the afternoon. It's like,
but yeah,
that would be fantastic. I really want it.
But yeah, no, the Ravens are a tough team. They're going to be hard to stop, but Lamar is like what 20-1 against the NFC now. That's the difference. We're an AFC opponent, so
right. And they've lost to like I think Indianapolis and
Cleveland,
right? And so and those are some pretty good they're winning teams right now. So we'll see. Honestly, the way that the Ravens should feel is like they're going to be really confident if they get into the Super Bowl with knowing how Lamar plays against the NFC. Their biggest worry is to get through the gauntlet that is the AFC. Even with the number 1 seed, that's still 2 games, even at home, especially if they have to go play the Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns, which everybody's hoping for that one. Just like we all want to see Matthew Stafford and the Rams versus Jared Goff and the Lions. So here's hoping for some storyline. Storylines, script writers. Do we not have some script writing going on here? I think we do. I'm being facetious here. I think it's just playing out really nicely for a change. Not that, especially with the Chiefs not being like the supreme team. It's like, it's gonna be the Chiefs again. Everybody gotta worry. The Arrowhead Invitational.
Glad it isn't. But yeah,
unless the number 1 and 2 seeds lose before that.
Hope not.
Hope not to. Championship game in Miami. That's what we're hoping.
Exactly.
Be it 1 or 2 seed.
They only lost the other team they lost to was the Steelers, and that was an away game, the Ravens. So it's like if you just play them physical enough, and we are a physical team, and if you don't think we're a physical team, then you have not been watching our games, because we've developed into the hard-nosed running defensive team. We are not slinging the ball like for 400 yards like he did against the Chargers, or having 700 total yards of offense against the Broncos.
Right. So
I mean, yeah, he's throwing. He almost had 300 yards, but I don't think Tyreek's breaking the record unless he gets I think he needs about 200 yards per game. And granted, that's doable, and I would like that. That probably means we win both games if he has 200 yards.
I mean, if he has an Amari Cooper game, that would be great. So we'll see.
Yeah, but we're going to.
I mean, he basically missed 2 games essentially, so that hurt. I mean, I know he played some of the Titans game, but he mostly missed that game.
Yeah,
along with the Jets game afterwards. So.
I mean, it's doable, but it's going to be tough, especially with having the hardest schedule left.
And Jalen Waddle probably not.
But we'll see what happens. I'm excited for the Ravens versus the Dolphins at the Ravens.
Yeah. Did you hear anything about Jalen? I've heard maybe still, but
I believe he's actually out. Well, he doesn't look like he's going to play. I think Adam Schefter posted that he's not.
Okay.
Granted, I know it's only Thursday, but they probably want to rest him to make sure he's there for the playoffs.
Well, that is more important, honestly. You've got a playoff spot, so I know I'd much rather have one of my top 5 players on my team than to go without him and only having a top 4, so, even if it meant going on the road. All right, so 49ers, I think they'll bounce back. It was a tough game. It was a tough game for the defense, and Brock Purdy. Everybody, I didn't feel like there was a lot from anybody, so except for Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey could also, I think he's in the running for the MVP. He should be. I know Lamar is on top of it right now, but we'll see where it goes.
Right. I'm just double checking if about the Jalen Waddle news. Yeah, it does look like it. Yeah, I don't know.
No worries.
Actually, I'm not finding. I thought I saw something that confirmed it, but it doesn't look like it.
Well, maybe somebody reached out and he was mistaken. Maybe he's mistaken. We'll see. We'll see by Sunday. Anything else?
I think the 49ers will, like we said, will bounce back. I mean, they have the Commanders. I know Jacoby Brissett's playing, and there will be some life in there, but
yeah. And I don't know what's I don't know if we're going to see these 2 teams in the Super Bowl. I could see us seeing one of them in the Super Bowl, but who knows? It's going to be a great playoffs. I think lava knocker time.
It's going to be a fun time in the playoffs.
Hopefully. Well, nothing else here that covers us for week sadly 16 of the NFL 2023 season. With that, we wish you a happy New Year. Hope you had some happy holidays, and we'll see you here in week 17 of the 2023 season in 2024. So happy New Year once again. Please like, share, subscribe, give us some feedback, and we'll see you here next time. Happy New Year. Bye.